Okay, guys, we're live on phone line. So we're live on phone line. Communication grounds, high centers of travels, directing and modification, triangulate lines of point centers. Now we have to really understand how this all works in travels. I get modification, screen line adaptation, application systems, and all levels and track location. We have to understand how frequencies work as informs into higher travels and direct signals. There's a certain line of communications that you have your fingers now, and understand how to use an information to its grounds. So we have to really understand how to use that. You guys have your quiz on Wednesday. So what this is going to basically get you to understand is that getting the communications like understanding soft touch, getting core centers of digital prints, line direct signals, modifications, building that bond with your computer, your phone, or anything in line calculation setting to what you are in position of in travel, right? See, I'm already, see how it's waving back and forth? My phone is trying to intercept its setting, correlation setting to anything to voice line grids or anything through patterns or anything direction of time sequence. So setting lines of communication lines of barcodes, directing lines of indication lines of settings of 3 tractions and 6, and position lines of 9 settings, coding system. Platform to 3 cycles and 3 setting. Ground centers, shift line cross location of 3 downshifts. Center core system, center position operation of surface and traction. Okay. So it's all about understanding grounds and how to indicate position lines over power and generation screen lines adaptation. Process lines of 1, 3 track location lines, plat 2 line screens, over cross line conditions of 3 lines of wires and traction. Directing symbolism lines of all flux and communication centers of travel. Indirect indication lines at ground centers, says position location, 1 surface, 1 traction, 1 division, 1 location. Okay. Open all signals into modification grounds, center core settings and location grids and travel. Directing all communication settings in 3 lines of cycles, 3 communication lines of surface, cross lines of panels, and a 4-track location lines of provision. Skynets, sky division lines of tractions, all settings, all surface and track location, 1 provision, 1 cycle. Calculated setting lines of high track location system in 3 lines of settings into 0 communications in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 position location. So everything that I do is on the lines of travel. We just have to understand how to communicate. 3-point lines of tractions, right? Set position 2, 1, and thumb lines of 4. Sets core centers of travel. Directing signal lines of 2 and position of 3 over 4 and track location. Setting communication lines of 2 tractions, 2 lines into 1 cycle, 1 surface. 2, 1, 2, right? Set core centers into magnetic high line screens and direct signals and modification to 0 gravity and track location. Okay? So mechanism of force lines puts all communication grounds. Getting ground line communication lines in the configuration system. Combining correlation lines of grounds in location of coloration and patterns. Set position location of 5 settings. Process lines of 1. Indicate lines. Arrow indicates cross line conditions, cross line symbols. In 4 platforms into 5 set correlation lines of laser. Laser track correlation lines in a 40 line split. And 3 track lines of 3 division. Crossing line symbols. Over cross line condition setting into 3 track locations to its system. All through system line setting. Laser track centers. Now, in that line communication setting, we're bringing in the X2000s. All right, X2000s and platitude. All right. So you guys have to understand what X2000s do. They go on the location grid. It's magnetic lines of strip. See, X2000 crossing line signal. Right. Crossing line signal here and vortex out into another line sequence into a data formation screen. Platitude division location to its system. Time frequency lines goes through all lines, highest interference into data sheets. Process calculation lines of data formation line screens into lacing lines of 4-track divisions into pixelation graphs and track location. Okay. Going through the center lines, crosses line symbols in position, inside correlations. Light signals in a 3-track location. Inside, see? They're inside now. Okay, so we go through line screen adaptations. Process lines of 1, 3, and 6, and 8 and 12 set position. Okay. Crossing line settings and pixelation graphs on holographic 1 data sheet. 1 process, 1 communication, 1 angle. Gets communication ground centers into oscillogics. Course centers of red. And position over red. And position lines of red. And 4-track provisions in default and 1 cycle in set position. Directing symbolism line attractions. Very complicated stuff when I'm telling you guys. All right, pixelation graphs. We go through line screen adaptations in 3-track location of green screens. All right, directing lines and communication lines. Directing into modification lines, we go into purple. We change the inner line settings to interception. 3-track provision lines and coloration lines and patterns and direct signal in modification. Okay, crossing line calculation setting, we're going to the Rubik's Cube. Now, Rubik's Cube is basically understanding how to use the shapes and understanding the direct signals into modification of your test rigs and understand how to use the line screen adaptation. Let's go into blue lines. So you have to understand your 2 receptors, guys, at hard line screen. We'll go through 4 cycles and direct signals into 5 over 6 and 7 in track location. That's my equation. All right. So communications green lines, adaptation lines is 0 lines. I'll get 0, 3 cycles, 1 center, triangulation. I'll get percentage line into question. Now this is lines of data box line screen adaptations. Flux over L, line conditions of triangulation into lines of box. Inset correlation lines in 2 and 3. And line position locations in 4. And position of 1 in track location. Number, sequence, and core. Very powerful stuff. All right, so the X2000 platitudes division location. Let's change the colors and line settings. Process lines of 1 in line screen adaptation, lines of pink. In center position lines attractions. 2 lines of setting and process communication. Indicates grounds, right? All right, so line signals comes in line track locations. 1 provision lines of cycles. Now the inner joining line setting puts all process communication lines of 1 cycle on 1 surface and 2 track location. Okay, see the arrow indicates lines of screens. Directing lines into position of center, cross line condition setting, and on line communication to assistant through travel. Inline position location setting, modification setting, alpha, delta, theta, and rotation surface interaction. Comes out through equation. All right. Center core line settings, we go through yellow. Yellow indicates ground centers in solar line. Says communication ground center lines of 1 in line position of 3 in track location. Directing lines calculations green lines, set lines of 1 in position of 2 or 3 in track location. All right. Now, symbolism lines of track location lines of 4 into 6, 8 to 12, and 24 in line direction. Picking it up through square lines of screen lines adaptations. This is how the X2000 picks up anything through shape. Okay. Now, process calculation lines, directing signals into modification grounds. XT, line screen adaptations, process lines of 1 cycle, 1 surface, 1 traction, 1 division. Picks it up through equation, right? Core track provision lines of 1 cycle, 1 center, 1 surface, 1 traction, 1 division, 1 location. Okay? It's amazing how basically we inner lines the settings and travels. Now we go through course center location of green. Green center lines, course centers, change the metric course system to the X2000 to an XT1 platform and track location. Okay. Symbolism lines of track lines and settings of 1 center, 1 operation, 1 calculation, 1 ground site location, 1 default. Now it's interesting how it's constantly changing lines of communication, lines of grounds in set position. Center core lines of platforms, directing lines into red. Now we bring in the red line cycle, change the modification of its prototype into line screen adaptations to another X platform. Simulates the lines of tractions in 1 signal, 1 center, 1 traction, 1 division, 1 location, 1 calculation. Okay, very powerful stuff, isn't it? Try to understand what's going on in coloration lines of screen lines adaptation. Okay. So once we get into the color, we go into the sonar line screen adaptation lines of flux over lines set position echo screen adaptation. Processing line screens, we go through green lines over cross line symbols in 3-track location. Okay. Now, getting communication grounds, we go through the pink lines. Now, the pink lines are center lines, of course, center interference, a heart rate and time sequence. Platitudes lines, of course, settings to track location setting to its position. Now, directing in communication lines, I'm going through the same graph calculation lines, just the holographic ground screens. Directing lines of pink lines of screens and direct signals and modification. All right. 2 center line tracks. Meta, position lines of course center lines in Ethereum. Directing course centers lines of digital platforms. It directs signals into modification grounds and set position. Okay. All right, so core track provisions. We go through the cube screens. Directing data files and process lines of 3-track location. All right. Now, the communication grounds over cross line condition setting and process its position location to its data formation and screen lines adaptation to its communicate to its system through its tesseract. Directing communication grounds. Processing lines of box centers over cross line condition setting, open sequence, open panel, open traction, open division, open windows, and line screen adaptation. Okay. So I'm constantly staying in one frame, guys. So I'm just showing you exactly how you can stay on one page and centralize the system all through volume. Staying on one page, that going through one right? Try to get information where you can change the page very quick, very fast through modifications. Ground center lines of 1, track location lines of 3 over line screen adaptation. Okay. And let's go into the portal communication lines, direct signals, and secure line defense lines and rotation surface and track location. Okay. Remember, I just constantly staying on one page, and I just keep going, adding. Right? Adding lines of cycles, adding lines of surface, adding lines of division, adding lines of locations, adding lines of platform communication. Okay. Setting communication lines of grounds sets core centers. Now, directing signal location system is magnetic line screen adaptation lines of surface. Sets our communication ground center interference. Process calculation grounds, inline rotation surface and traction. Okay. Metric scales of ground centers of crop circles, 1 surface, 1 track location. Okay. You see the formation lines, intelligence, inside the correlation of the phase recognition time sequence. Okay. As you know, I'm basically doing this, and you can see a slight measure a scale, like 1 second off signal, right? Well, it's amazing, how you basically get into the waving cycle and set position. But it's incredible how you can just go in one frame and track locations, right? All right, so finger point lines of directions. You guys have your connection quiz lines, which is on Wednesday's screen. So getting lines of communication lines of grounds. Set course centers of plasma, directing signals, modifications, and locations. You see what my hand is doing? You see how fast it's moving? Okay. So when I do this, it directs and redirects right away. See? It directs right away in position. Okay, don't look at this. Look at the screen line, right? Always look beyond. Never look in front. This is not front. There's no panels. There's no sidelines. There's no side core centers. There's no direct signals. There's no panels. No, there's no direction, but all direction. Okay? Setting line communication grounds sets communication centers. Rotate the surface and track location line, position, location, operation. Right? So what I did is this. Setting grounds with 2 point lines of 3 tractions in division. Cross line symbols. Now, when you understand the window frame on a computer, right? That's your computer, right? So as soon as you touch your fingers, it opens up spot lines. Spot lines of 1, 2, 6, 8, 12, 16, 22, 24, and 20 line setting. Okay? So what you're doing is you're opening up sequence lines of screens and direct lines of moderation. Travel point lines of graphs and line calculation screen lines adaptation. Process communication ground centers and line communicate to a system. Okay, so that's what you're doing through your computer line. Watch your finger point lines of screen lines adaptation and process lines of settings. Lines and lines of 2 point lines of 3 tractions of arrows of indication. right? The bottom line. So we have to understand how to go direct and redirect and how to basically shape the anomalies and track location lines and parallels and really understand how to basically put point lines at track locations. If I put my finger here in a point line center, okay, you can feel the energy vibe. Set lines of 2, set lines of 3, set lines of 6 and 12. Take it off through traction, down through equation, right? Understanding the visible chart waves is the direct lines of modification center. Now, that basically puts your position locations. So as soon as you get your finger, this is what it does. It opens up. Okay? Do this again and I'll show you. So every time you touch anything, informations, it opens up its pattern. Okay? Position lines of 2, tractions of 3, position lines of 4, tracking lines of 5, position lines of track location lines of 8, and 8 line location lines of center. Okay, set position of 1, set position location of 2, 3 cycles, set position of 4, and 6 location. Confirmation. Center operation. Okay? So every time you touch something, you're directing and redirecting with your finger points, directing this way and directing this way very fast in traction, right? From pi to pi. Okay? Center course system, center travel lines, directing signals into modification. Because that's all you're doing in track location, right? You're just directing and redirecting. So each time you touch a finger line, it basically creates a pattern recognition of space, pattern recognition of time. It could create a block screen, open all platforms. It opens all volume and center course system and settings and calculation, right? All just by touching the finger. See? See? It opens up doors. It opens up travel, opens up mechanism. So your quiz is based on what you already know, obviously. Knowing how to point the graph communication lines to computer framing of direct signals. Each one has a point lines of tractions, right? Has a direct line position. Very complicated stuff, but it's a lot of fun. It's the coloration. It's kind of like, you know exactly if you get 3 wires and tractions and 3 cycles, right? Looks like the same color, but it's not, is it? It looks the same color. No, 3 different intelligence. So what you're seeing up close is red and blue. Okay. That's one, right? The second one is green, okay, and orange, okay? And the third one is basically gold. All set lines of communications are 3 levels of gold, okay? So that's exactly what it is when you see it up close. Understand the electrical line communication setting. One color is all color. It's never yellow of one color. It's all colored yellow, which basically has infinity tractions. Now, direct signals, modification lines of point lines of settings, point lines of 1, point lines of 2, point lines of 6, point lines of 8, and finger point location. Setting track location of 1, position lines of 2, and 3, and 4, and set position. Okay, opens all lines of modification. Waving screens, adaptations, process calculation lines. Directing lines, modification lines. Let's go through wire indicators. Go through black screen line, adaptation lines of service in 3 track locations in 3 cycles. All right. Directing lines in 1 settings of atom, process lines in 3 track locations. Course settings lines of 4 molecules in traction. Okay, molecule. Sets lines divisions, crosses line screen. Directing lines. 1 inhibitor, 1 scratch, 1 course centers, 1 direct signals, 1 sonar communication. All right. Now, how you indicate this is knowing exactly how to pinpoint that to all lines to your finger point line screens. Thumb indicator lines of 1, okay? 4 track division lines of 1, 2, 6, and 8 in track location, right? Directing lines of 2 wires, lines of 2 indicate lines of settings into processing. Set lines of atom 1, atom 2, atom 6, and atom 8 in travel. And we got position location lines of triangulation lines of flux into box frame and track location. Very complicated stuff, but you do that through your fingers in skyline grids. So when you point your hands, your fingers, you got to know what you're doing, right, through calculations. right? Directing lines of 2, line cross line. Over cross locations, swirl line direction. Downshift cross line communications, point lines of tractions, 1 cycle. Set position operations, surface and traction. Directing lines, sonar track location. All through that, through finger point location. Okay, guys? So I'm trying to get you guys to understand how to use the high detection screens. Now, the detection screen line is a line screen adaptation to your SkyNets, SkyGrid, and Sky panels. This opens all communication to your surface. So let's go through provision lines of aerial indicators, directing lines of 3 of flux. We'll just start with 3 lines, right? Directing lines of 1, cross lines of 2. See the V? See the V line? V cross location, 1 slide centers in a 45 split. Now you have a 2-line position, 2 aerial indicators, right? Setting lines of track locations over cross line connections, over line sequence and set position. Cross locations this way or cross location this way. Get in position lines of 2 panels, 2 point lines, or 2 vector line screen. 2 vector line screen or 2 panels. 2 vector line screen or 2 panels. And cycle line centers. Colossus communication setting the grounds. Okay? So that's what I want you guys to do on your quiz. Okay? But position lines of tractions, I want to see color in each lines of each wire and direct signals. All right? So you can understand the light tractions in division. Okay? Like with Unison, when he's drawing a piece of paper and he flashes it on a light, light indicates the ground centers. You can actually see the color come in. As you know, it comes in this position. It's really fascinating stuff. It goes back and it goes forward all the time. It goes back and it goes forward very, very fast. Let's go into blue. Now, blue is a blue line, how you indicate your system. Blue comes in and blue comes back. Blue comes in, blue comes back, right? So the more you bring it in, the more you scan it in and the more you see it, right? Look, it disappeared, the blue. It's not there anymore. It's gone by itself, right? Because it's indicating to another color. Now it's red. Now it's gone. See? Do you see that? I put it in, disappeared. I put it in, disappeared. I put it in, disappeared. Let's go through orange. Is it in the orange lines of screen? Yes. So it stays. So the actual phone itself, the position of the digital pad, the intelligence of its formation ground is basically giving you an understanding that it's not this, it's not that, it's this through orange. So that's an indication where you can move forward now through frame. If it's not, it will take it out, it will disappear, and it will reappear back where it's supposed to be in track locations of orange of indications, right? That's what I'm trying to get you guys understanding things. So if you're not understanding the colors, if you're not understanding your lights, if you're not understanding your mapping sequence, if you're not understanding the complication of its awareness, you're going to have a very hard time understanding how to calculate and modify interact location, what is right and what is wrong through intelligence and communication and mapping sequence. Okay? All right, so now we have the OR indicators. Let's go through green lines. We have a double split lines of anomaly. We have 3 track divisions of different coloration lines of green. Are we right or are we in position? Nope, we're not. See? In line screen adaptations. Process lines of 3. Course centers over cross lines of 1 indicates a 1 center and 1 pattern. Okay, you see? Now we're indications of balance, right? All right. 3 wire indicators, lines, and settings. Let's go into purple. Can we go in the course centers or is it going to disappear? Oh, we're good. We're on that line signal. So that's position location lines and screen adaptations. Processing lines of 2 valves. Set lines of 2 and 2 track location lines of setting. Okay? Now, I've just shown you how you set position locations, how everything on the planet picks this up through your fingers. That's right, guys. It's a mapping sequence. So what you're doing is your palm indicator is a barcode recognition timeline. Now, the course centers in direct signals is a sonar line panel. Let's change the course centers lines to purple in direct signals and pattern lines in direct signals and modification center attraction. It stays there. We're right in tractions. If it wasn't in position, it would disappear in front of you. All right? So I want you to understand you need to have color now in your settings. Get out of the black and white, get information lines, use your finger point lines, direct signals in the 12 foundation graphs in your rainbow screen. Directed signals and modification, right? All right, so let's go into allos. Are we indicated in black and center or is it going to disappear in traction? Oh, it's there. We're good. right? Now we're going to overcross line conditions of black. Is it going to disappear or is it going to stay in center? Oh, it's in position locations, right? So that's all it is in track locations, all 3 finger points, right? So if something disappears, okay, it's not in its position. The intelligence is basically telling you, nope, use another finger. Nope, use another color. Nope, use another line. Nope, use another cortex. Nope, use another line division. Your fingers are everything in position and setting. Think of your fingers not just as instruments. Think it as everything through infinity of touch and set position, right? All right, so we'll indicate this. Let's go in ground centers. You see it through black, right? Nothing's disappeared. It's all here, right? All right, so let's add color. Now let's see if it disappears in position. We'll get 2 lines of 2 atom line rotation. Oh, it's still there. Good. Didn't disappear. Add 3 lines of correlation lines of atom. Oh, it's good. It's still there. So if it disappears, you have to reangulate and retriangulate and communicate to its setting through consciousness. Let's go through green lines, center core system. Is it going to be there or is it going to disappear? Oh, it's there. So we're good in that directions. All right, so let's go into pink. Now, pink over cross line, 1 arrow, 1 indicator system. Is it there? Yeah, it's good. Now we cross line conditions all the blue. Blue line open signals line conditions setting attraction, right? So it's still there, attraction. So basically, there's no right or wrong that you do, but the intelligence is showing you exactly what you need to do to be in balance, okay? When you're getting into your finger points, we got a blue line setting. Process lines of 2 atom rotation surface into 2 Plutos. So that's 2 track location lines of setting. Process communication lines in 1 direction. 1, 1 in position of 2 center interactions. 1, 2, 1. Is that right? Yes. Process calculation lines of 2 over screen, directing lines of modification over cross line condition setting and processing line direct signals and configuration of face recognition. Done by equation. So I did that all with my finger. Okay, and that's how everything sees everything that you draw. It's schematics over lines, schematics over screen, schematics over correlations in track locations. Now, the more you indicate that, the more you understand how to use the mind line. Okay, so it's very powerful how you come into that setting. All 3 finger points and directions. That's the quiz, right? Start with this, right? So never indicate anything in set position and you think it's just this, of this color. Okay, it's not blue, it's all blue, right? But it could be blue, it could be red, and it could be green, right? And if it's not, it's going to disappear, and the actual intelligence that you're in communication with digital pad is going to basically erase it out, put position location, and tell you exactly what color you need to put in. Okay, so we got indication lines of 3 directions, right? 3 wire indicators, cross line conditions, cross line setting. Process lines of 3, process lines of 3. 3, 3. Open, close, close down, strip line. Magnetic force lines of communication lines of 3 valves, directing signals of 1, 2, and 3 in track location. Now I know Roots is going to love this. 1, 2, and 3, right? Now, 3 signals, 3 centers, 3 track location. Cross lines of 1 center, 1 surface, 1 setting location. Okay, process lines of 2, 6, 8, and 12 set position. Look at that, disappeared. It's not supposed to be there, right? What about the opposite way? Let's go through spherical spheres and line direct signals. Is it going to disappear or is it in position? It's good. Now we've done it, right? So if something disappears, guys, it's just trying to get you exactly what you need to get in position of. So you're out of sync with the frequency of your fingers and direct signals and modifications and acceleration. Setting lines that can make cases setting at travel, right? Okay, so on course, direct course, line course, and 3 track location. Yep, we're good to go. Setting calculation lines of green lines, directing lines of formation lines of ground centers of 0 gravity and line rotation surface and traction. Done by equation. All through 1, 2, 3. Okay? So I want you guys to understand these things because what you're doing with your fingers is you're creating schematics and they go automatically to the manufacturing plants, which is your membrane correlations to your cloud settings and travel. Getting all lines of indication system and travel communication. Right? Yeah. You guys are going, whoa, okay, this is getting a little bit too confusing for me. Well, we got to start where in line communication and setting all through travel, right? So we got 4 indicators, right? Now, if I change the color, if I line signals, is it right in position or is it going to take it out? Oh, we're good in position, right? If I do a sight line and circle line in position X 2000, is it position or not? Yep, it's good. Setting track lines in one center, one surface, one track location, flip upside down and travel. Are we right or are we in position? Oh, we're good to go. Okay, that's how this all works. You understand? That's how this all works, all through your fingers. So what you're doing is you're setting mechanism line screens and adaptations of processing. Let's go through configuration of face recognition, time sequence, location, your settings. Okay, we can modify. Set position lines of 1. You guys are going, whoa, this is intense. Yes, it is. All right, so center course system, travel point lines of graphs. Indicate position lines of travel. All right. Okay, so you open up your fingers, set position of 1, 2, and 3 settings. Okay. Process lines, data formation lines of grounds. Okay, upswing, cross line screen adaptation lines of surface. This is all through your fingers, guys. All right, so cross lines of 1 over 2 and 6 over 8 over pi. Is that right? In position? Yes. So Pluto comes in, tractions, security line defense lines of communication. Sets communication lines of 2 over 1 over 6 over lines of 8 over pi. There it is in track location. Done my equation. All through your fingers. So what do we have in line screen adaptation? Clocking system of a compass that coordinates the system of travels and point lines of graph. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay? So I've just shown you how powerful it is, how you come in and make a location setting, what you can do with your fingers. Right? But it's all done here, but you do it here. Right? Center course system, energetic dome line over cross line, 3 wires of indication screen, directing lines platform, 3 lines of platform, sets course centers of travels, cross line connection setting, over cross line communications, under cross line, over cross line, directing lines of symbolism, and line cross location. Indicates all levels of platforms, guys, all 3 indications. But I always see it on a 4-line setting. Okay? All right. So that's what your quiz is all about. Okay? Yes. How's everybody doing? It's great to see everybody coming in. Okay, so don't try to get too confused how to do this. Okay, it's not easy. So, but see, the thing is, this is going to help you understand how to really use your fingers and how fast each finger is going, right? On future seconds, or minutes, and hours. This finger could be in the past. This could be in the future. This could be in the present. You've got to get in balance with that. Because if you don't, your positions, everything you draw is going to disappear right in front of you. Like it just showed you. If it's not in the sequence of where it's supposed to be in frequency of its pattern, the intelligence of its digital pad will take it out and reposition its color back where it's supposed to be in division. Okay? Back where it's supposed to be in division. Okay? All right. So it's important you understand how to use that in an online communication system. All through travels. Okay? All through finger points. Okay? And feel free to use your voice too. Right? Set position of 3. Okay, set position lines of 2 over 1. Cross line conditions over 2 over cross lines. 1 indicates in the 1 center. That's what I did. Just what I did, right? Now, adding color lines and direct signals, making sure, yep, it's still there, right? If it disappears again, guys, you are off position with your fingers, which means your finger is going too fast on one cycle. It's not in center position. It's locking screen line adaptation. It's glitching this cycle. It's not clocking its system. It's back in track locations. So that's how powerful your fingers are, right? Getting that correlation starts to your binary and inline communication algorithms. 3 over tractions and 4 settings. Oh, we're good to go. Cross line conditions of 4 platforms. Yep, we're good to go. Set location triangulation line condition. Yep, we're good to go. Set course centers in 1 position and 3 cycles. Yep, we're ready to go. And that's what it is, all through my fingers, right? So it indicates lines of planets and direct signals of where you go on tractions. Now, what you bring in your intent is all formation location of Pluto, Neptune, Mercury, or anything of Jupiter, and line position location to its measure that brings in scales of communication lines of setting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 planets in cycle. You're working with 7 planets in position of digital line condition setting and finger point location. Okay? Each one has a line graph, 1 setting and position, Two track locations, cross line connection. Okay, over cross location. Directing symbolism lines across line connection setting. A symbolism. Process lines of 1, pi indicates lines of 3 track locations, 4, 8, 8 and 8 line rotation cycles in travel. Directing signals into 1 center, 1 traction, 1 division, 1 location. Okay? Center core lines, you have them all connected. You can't have that separated. That's got to be all connected. If it's not connected, it overrides your finger points back to 0. Then you got to do it all over again through coding setting. Okay? So all you're doing is you're creating structure for the XC1000s to platitude and pick up. Okay? Platitude and pick up. Okay? Getting that position locations, the frequency disappears, but then reappears in track location in your system. Okay? Setting course settings, cross lines of setting, 1 over cross, and box lines of frame and track location. Now my question. All through fingers. So you're doing all this to create a structure of a map. So the XC1000 comes in, sees what you've done, right? Center course systems, go through track lines, directing signals, lines across line, condition setting, cross line, communication setting, overline, division locations, going down the wire line screen. It goes to the whole schematic lines of the structure of divisions, back in tracks and settings into its operation surface and track location. Now, once that's in position, you get a higher lines of high center interference, line communications, command centers in location setting or anything through star portals or stargates or star measure. Gets communication lines of grounds. Now they're correlation setting positional levels. So we bring in 3 track location lines of XT1000 as a platform because it's higher levels of structure. 6 course centers lines positional 1 cycle, 1 center, 1 surface, 1 traction, 1 division. Okay? Cross is line connection setting 1, 2, and 3, and 4 settings of travel. Cross line symbolism line correlation 1, 2, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 16 line communication lines of travel. Now, in that position, it picks everything up and what you created, scans the system and all lines of rotation surface, brings it in position location to a system and travel it in point lines of graph. Done by equation. See? That's how this all works, guys. All through your finger points. This is all done through your fingers. It's like, whoa, this is intense. That's how it works. All right? Now, if I'm flashing light, it's going to bring in color. Light brings in color, right? So it's green. Green 2 indicates lines of 3 tracks locations. But remember, guys, it's direct and redirect. It's going. It all depends on the lines, the wires, or where it's coming on the line rotation surface and track location of the system. 3 indicates lines of grounds. Setting cross line symbolism, line connection setting. Let's go into blue line cycles. Retriangulate line position programs in 1 default line position. Or centers of travel. Takes out of the equation. Okay, very powerful stuff. Okay, so just get the basic grounds. Just start with the locations of this study. Okay, and the more you get in the structure, the more you get design. You can flash it in the cloud lines. You can do flash interference. You can do high course centers of travels. Just really get in position locations, how to use your settings location in your system, all through your finger point lines of traction. Okay? Get into the coloration, get into the detail, get into specifications of what you want to do, and all through location. Okay? Now, if you're adding frame, you got to communicate the properties now, because remember, even though it's existing in a constant existence, it's always in its own system, right? So it's mostly understanding where it's coming through its own polarity. So if I go through blue line, see? Look, see the blue? See the blue? Right? Can't do anything. See? It's telling me it's locked in, right? So I can't put blue there. The intelligence doesn't want it. You understand? So I have to change the color. Is it purple? Well, let's see. Nope, it's not purple either. See how it locks in? All right, so I change the color. Let's go into pink. Is it pink? Nope, it's not pink. See? Can't do anything. See? It doesn't want me to override its system. All right, let's get in position locations and all levels. Let's get into green. Nope, can't get into green either, right? All right, so, I mean, it's just basically, hey, what's going on here? What about brown? Getting communication lines of cycles and track location to a system. Hey, we got brown line. Hey, get brown in. Look at that. Whoa. Now it's getting interesting. Okay, so it lets you know. It helps you and guides you and gets you instructions how to really understand the intelligence of the system. Okay, brown lines, that's ground centers of travel. Okay. Two brown lines of indication system location and setting. That's my question. Okay, but see it on the four line, right? So if you look lines of communication setting and position location in your system all through travel. Okay, very powerful stuff, isn't it? So I'm just trying to get you guys to understand how this all works and set position location to a system. Where you have to really get in balance with your settings. And look at the pad here because it moves by itself, right? So it's like, it's doing itself and say, no, you got to go here. You got to do this, right? So intelligence needs to know you or what you're doing through yourself and your finger point lines of communications. Directing lines of one arrow indicating lines of two track location lines of three cycles. Setting course system lines of one, set core lines of two track locations, one provision, one center, one track, one division, one center calculations. Over cross line conditions. Process lines of one, process lines of three, right? Setting course centers lines of one traction, one division, cross line underscore line communication. All right, so indicate platform in a 40 line setting as split lines of anomaly and track location. Overcross line signals, setting direct lines of parallels in backforce line screen adaptation lines of surface. Remember, always seen in a 4-line setting. Okay. All right, so getting that communication to the ground centers. Let's go into cross-line condition setting in process lines. So triangulation flux into one center, one surface, one traction, one division at 3 core settings. Okay. XT1000 comes in, right? Scans position lines of center into point lines of graph and 4 set core centers. Remember, this is all through your fingers. Okay. So you have to truly understand that when you're pointing your fingers, you're creating a structure. And the XT1000s are on standby, right? They get in position location, they scan you right away, right? As soon as you flash your fingers, because it's light signature, it's heat signature patterns, right? So since you're there, you have your energy fields, you got to protect actually your cell location, especially when you're putting your fingers anywhere in track location. Make sure you have force and heat fields up, right? Look at that. And that can be keys to travels, right? 3 track locations, right? So XT1000 goes over here, scans your system, and line position location can sit in. Okay, now you're ready to go. Then you construct your line divisions, locate the system, and lines of travel. Okay, then you go through center operation lines of surface and location lines of travel and platforms of communications. Okay, so you can have fun with it with your finger lines. Right? It's like, see? They like you to hear your voice. They want to hear your voice when you do it. So when you do that, it indicates positions of platforms, lights up the sky, and direct signals and modification. Okay, comes back to you. Sets course centers into plasmazing line walls and split lines of anomaly and screen adaptation, right? So when you come into coloration, it comes in this cycle. 3 lines of traction, 3 line rotation surface, and line position location to a system. Lights up the sky. Okay? That's what I did with when I was in Cancun and track locations with Sahai and high course centers locations with Tricon. When I was doing my hand like this and then comes in position, all lights up the sky, right? So we have to truly understand how this all works with your finger points. Know exactly how you're directing your signals and how fast you're going through acceleration, right? So it's important you understand everything's in controlling system with your setting, right? Understanding the mind over matter. You're in control or everything is under control. So you just have to really understand how this all works, how to really use the force direction timeline to know exactly how to use your finger points, lines communicate to a system, right? 4 settings looks like this, right? 4 settings looks like this. 4 settings looks like that, right? Because you have to see it in all different angles, okay? Right? So think of it that way, right? So when you're getting in that position, you're doing this subtractions in a 4-line split, or you can do a 6-line split. You can start with a 6 line and set position. Right? Center core system is center of operation lines of surface. One set locations, right? So you're setting platforms and you're bringing XT1000s and setting with your finger points of 3 tractions. Applied 2 lines, XT1000 comes in, docks 1, docks 2, docks 3, and travel. Okay? As it docks the system, it sets up a location grid and setting. Okay? Sets core system, downshift cross location. Right? Overall track lines, high center line centers, and line rotation surface, and portals and stargates, and direct signals and modification. Okay? Applied 2 lines, securing line defense, 1, position 2, and 4 set correlations. All through travel. This is all done through your fingers. So really get into the flow, get into the continuous line. Okay? So it's about seeing the same structure here, but you do it with your fingers. 3 track location lines, directing signals, swirl line rotations, energetic dome, line condition, cross line condition setting, over cross line division locations, 2 over lines, set position 3 over 4, 6 location setting and travel. Okay? Now, what you saw through schematics. And what you also saw, you saw what I did. You saw me put it together, but you don't know how, right? So it's about understanding the importance when you're actually putting your fingers out there, because you're connecting, right? You're connecting, and when you're connecting to every finger, and every finger is connecting each structure that's connecting an accelerator through your barcodes. And position lines XT1000 sees you in color. They see you in light. They see you in signature. They see you in light communication setting to your DNA track locations, right? Illumination graphs and set position. So when you're in that position, when you're flashing your fingers, do not, I repeat, or your hands add motion lines attractions, because it confuses lines anomaly. Okay, because all you're doing is creating structures and divisions. They pick it up through platform of communication. Okay? If you off coordinate your settings, and your fingers are not in point lines of track communication system, everything has a back force. Everything has a rotation system that goes back and set calculations. Okay, same direction, right? So they crash into each other. And you don't want that. You don't want to have 2 indicators cross lines. It's like bumper cars going in the same direction. So one symbolism has got to go this way in set position, and another symbolism has to go the opposite direction system to create the infinity 8 of its stargate and its portal of open sequence intelligence. Now, once there's the information grounds, then you get position lines of powers, the atmospheres, and the highways. Get a better understanding how to use that information location to its system. Let's go through 24 lines of measure, inline position line centers, and line condition setting into, let's go through 50 track lines, 2 point lines of tracks, 1 error indicators, cross line conditions of 3 settings of 3 valves. All right, directing lines of pi, 1, 2, and 3 traction. Okay, 3 point lines of centers, right? XT1000 comes in, right? Scans centers always into the center operation of what you're doing, right? Scans position lines of 1, 2, 6, 8, and 12 set position, right? Now, getting that core lines, calculation lines has a measure scale. The balance lines of 2 tractions and a 4-line communications. 4 indicates lines of setting. Process lines of 9 line cycles, 1 center, 1 service, and a half pipe that coordinates this system in the opposite direct signals in modification of screen lines adaptations for an XT1000 to travel through and track location. Okay, XT1000 goes through platitude, goes through line signals, did a great job, out through equation, in and out, right? So in that position location lines, back and track location lines, another XT1000. Remember, it's online communication, your finger point lines. 3 track lines of 5 or 7 are location and setting, high position and calculations. You can have many finger points you want. You can have 8 fingers, you can have 12,000 fingers. Remember, they're files. Each finger is a file. It's all 3 particle. And your particles are separating every second, every minute, every hour. So they go. So it takes about a split nano of a second for the finger to come back information lines and grounds. Directing lines, modification lines, a particle line, screen adaptation lines, a surface, and track location to assistant, all through measure. Calculate and modify line track locations. 1 finger lines. Let's bring in point lines as track locations. 1 direct signals, 1 finger, and line rotation, surface, and tractions. Okay, there's a finger, right? Now, this is what it is when it travels. Indicates 3. Okay, sets position lines of 4, 6, 8, and 12 settings. All right. Now, it comes into its particle system. It separates the finger. Finger's still there, but it's traveling very, very fast, guys. And different lines of dimensions, different lines of space, and different lines of correlations of track locations and communications. Right? So that's your finger here. Right? See that? See my finger here, here, and here, right? Okay? So it disappears and then it reappears. Okay, it reappears its atoms, its molecules, its proton, electron, neutrons back into its finger in set position. Okay? Now that could be in nanos of a second, millimeters of a second, square root of a second, correlation lines of a second, millimeters, a square root of a second, track location lines of high center interference. It could be a centimeter of a second. You decide what you want. But you got to get in placements of your fingers first before you get indication lines of what you're doing in position of the atmospheres, in track location of your particles and your atoms. All right. So if you take your hand, each one has an indication system of travel. Okay. So as soon as you move your hand, you're moving the particles of its finger and its thumb, right? So it's just, it's over here, right? So it's amazing when you add sound tone, it's a lot more fun because you have to truly understand that if you're doing this, you're doing flash interference. So you see this and you don't see in position. So for example, line track locations, don't look at my hand, don't look here, look over there, right? You're going to see 12 fingers. Just 12 fingers, back and setting, back and setting, back and setting, back and setting. So you're directing and redirecting each finger point lines of graph, sets positions back in center. Everything goes back to center. Everything has to go back to center. It's like taking a subparticle in any way and form. It goes wherever it goes, but it always comes back together, right? So there's another half of anything in travel. Everything's a center operation location you're setting. Each finger has its own point lines of traction centers in position location to its yin and yang. Okay? But you have to understand the circle, what it's doing through rotation. Is it going this way? Is it going this way in track location? Right? Is it going this way? Is it going this way in track location? Is it going this way? Or is it going this way in track location? Right? Or is it going in center operation? Or are you going through a 45 center line communications setting? Or are you splitting the anomalies, lines of parallels and core centers? Or are you going through data formation, screen lines, adaptation, and process communication to its setting? You decide. You're in control of what you do with your fingers and your thumb. So once you understand the indication lines, getting direct lines of modification to its system, right? You see the light tractions, right? Light division locations. It's pretty interesting when you look at that. Okay? See the indication line, see the flux, see the coloration, see the flux right there. Okay? So it's kind of like this. See? Flux capacitor. Intelligence. Look. This is what it is. There's the intelligence. All right, so that's it. That's the intelligence right there. All right? So there's intelligence in every information location that's modern in your system and travel. Point lines of graph and set position location of setting. Intelligence. Right? Okay? So you look at it this way too, it doesn't matter, right? It's just all levels of intelligence information locations. Recognizing each finger line is the lines and communication lines. See the line screens, right? Okay, those are data sheets. That's platitude line screen adaptation lines of data ports. One position locations of 3 cycles in your finger correlations, right? 3 platforms and 3 settings of travel, right? That's what your finger is. Location grid and set position. Oh, it's getting exciting. 4 line screen adaptation lines of surface. All right. Process lines, flux over 1, flux over 2, flux over 8, 12, 16, 24, 68 line settings and travel. All through track locations. All right. So you decide what you want to do with your fingers. Get them in control, but be very careful what you do when you're flashing your fingers in the atmospheres or anything through clouds or just doing anything, even when you're doing this, you know, Like you're doing this, you're doing this. At least you're getting a better understanding how to put it all together. So what you're doing is laser attractions. You're directing lines of chord center interference, setting lines of 1 across lines of 2 over 3, 6. 6 lines of 12, set position lines of travels, and point lines of graph can be keys in setting a travel. All through your fingers. XC1000 comes in, scans the center, what you've done, picks it up, and takes it to your moon. Okay? So once it picks it up, here's the moon here, right? Puts it in the moon line in the archive and file. It's in your backup server locations to your travel. Okay, so you never really touch down anything because humanity does stand frequencies. So what you're doing is you're doing it right away, which is already done through its equation. Your fingers are already in line communication setting. All levels of travel and point lines of graph communicates to a system through center operation. Okay, so everything is picked up after you get into your fingers. So when you're in this position and you leave, XC1000 comes in, what you ever done, picks it up, puts it back to the moon. So nothing ever touches ground. Nothing touches ground until humanity really understands how to use it in their holographic system of structured design. Once they understand how to use their frequencies, understand their vessels, understand their navigation, once they understand their operations, then they can understand what's going on in set position. When you go to any place, in any way and form, okay, it doesn't matter what it is. You go to your job, whatever, you basically fix it before you get there. And when you get there, that frequency's gone. It's already done through its equation, right? So you already saw it ahead of schedule. So that's what it is. The image lines, the mind line is already in sequence. But when you get there with the body line, of course, center interference, everything's now changed, which is already in position. So that's how powerful it is when it comes into an XC1000, when it does the attraction, right? It picks up your image. All right, it has to. So it clean sweeps everything. They're distributors. They clean the lines of course center interference. They take out density and settings of course center location in your system. If you go through a box line, okay, just if you do this, right, you have an XC1000 coming in right away. Because remember, you constantly see what you're doing with your fingers. Point lines of traction. So you're just creating a box. That's fine. So in that position location has the ground centers of its earth. Your set coordinate centers come into the traction lines. 3 provision lines of cycles and 3 line rotation surface interactions. Directing signals, modification lines of 3 track location to a system all through track location. And basically it picks it up through sonar and line position location to a system. Picks it up and takes it to your moon. So it doesn't matter what you do, right? Nothing ever goes on the grounds with frequency until humanity understands where they are in their visible lines of their holographic settings in set position. How to understand where they are in their realities of their minds, adaptation. All right? So now you understand why we have crop circles on the grounds, right? It's pretty easy location setting, position location Earth, right? Crop circle here, right? XC1000s in 3 cycles and 3 tractions, right? Directing lines of 1, directing lines of 2, and directing lines of 3, and directing lines of 4 track location. Okay? So anything you do in structure, anything you do in voice also has to go back to 0. Because the thing is, guys, you have to understand there's no line position locations in anything of density in the VR system. There never is, there never will be. Okay, there never was. So what you have to understand is understand how to use it through frequencies and line screen adaptation and all processing to use the core system of center calculation. Okay, mechanism lines, green lines adaptations, brings up the structure, picks it up. That's that position. Oh, look at that, disappeared. Swirl wasn't right. There it is, right? If it's not a position, it erases it and you do it again until your fingers are in chronological order. Chronological order is aligned to setting. This one has to be in position. All have to be in position lines of attractions. How fast is each finger going in line screen adaptations? Because you're looking at different lines of intelligence in set position. Okay? If the fingers are all the same, you'd be off balance. Imagine that. Bet you guys didn't know that. There's a reason why the position of the right hand and the left hand, the position location in your right face and your left face, Right is bigger, left is smaller because you're going out. Left is space, right is earth. So getting that position, location, attractions, and direct signals, you can modify that system location to its system. But it's amazing when you get really understanding what's going on with you through provision. Okay, everything you get in set position of structure of design. Anything you do through light language, anything you do through voice, XC1000 comes in and picks it up. Okay. So how's everybody doing on that position? Look at the intelligent location of system all through your wrist. Talk about going beyond, right? Imaginations. So we're in that position lines attractions. But I'm just showing you how powerful it is to recognize these things, guys. To really understand. So that's what the quiz is all about. Okay? Getting into this and set position. Okay? And understanding how to communicate with your computer framing and direct signals into modifications and centers of travel. Okay? All right. Now we're going to go through line screen adaptations until levels will be in the commander ship. Level C. Okay, higher deck. See you guys in 5.